Bless you, boys! What a game! Wins the game! Ben! Whoa! Big Pappy has given the Leafs the lead! This time we're gonna finish the job!
I cannot believe this as the Toronto Maple Leafs lose a heartbreaking game. Well, I guess because it's preseason, of course, to the Montreal Canadiens. An absolute no-show from a lot of guys. We're going to break that down, but we have returned. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The post-game streams are back. Hockey is back. Obviously, we haven't been streaming for the last couple, but we're nearing the regular season, of course, which is very, very exciting, but not much to take from tonight, but there is a lot to talk about. Make no mistake about it with the Toronto Maple Leafs and who is going to be playing with who. Disappointing result tonight, but nice to see everybody back in the chat. Shout out to all 40 of you who are in here right now as we wait for more to join the party, because there is a lot to talk about with this team. I have some stuff to bring up. Obviously, James Reimer, we got to talk about that. That is very interesting move. I want to elaborate on that a little bit more, but nice to see some familiar faces. Prophet, nice to see you back after a long offseason. I hope everyone's summer was great, but let's get right into it. There's a lot to talk about with this Toronto Maple Leafs team, and very disappointing result tonight, let's be honest, but there were some bright spots. And one thing I want to bring up first, and a lot of people might scoff at this, is I actually thought this was a pretty decent move from Max Domi. I feel like he has to know somebody is going to come after him, and obviously Struble did in defense of Lane Hutson. So kind of a dumb penalty to take, which is what Max Domi does, but you got to take the good with the bad with Max Domi. And obviously Struble came in and got a roughing penalty, so it offsets, and he was trying to set the tone because Lane Hutson was setting the tone at that point and did throughout the game, basically took over still after that. But I don't mind that from Max Domi, trying to shift momentum. If he's able to do that in the regular season, that could be a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So just a small thing I noticed tonight, but if he continues to take penalties, again, this is a different circumstance. He went after Lane Hutson. Somebody's clearly going to come after him, but you know, there are circumstances where it might not be a good thing. I also wonder, I'm going to throw it over to the chat now. Let me know in the chat, how did you think Morgan Rielly and Brandon Carlo played? Because I'm keeping a close eye on that as we head towards the regular season. I have to be honest, a lot of the top guys look like they did not care whatsoever tonight, and I don't hate it, right? Austin Matthews, apparently, according to Craig Berube, might not even play the rest of the preseason. Apparently, he just wants to save him for the regular season. There's nothing he wants to see. He'd rather give that spot to somebody else who's fighting to make the team and maybe steal a job. So again, I don't hate it, but again, a disappointing result, and I would like to see how certain guys are gelling with each other, and if you're not going to care, it's going to be hard to see that. So that'll be interesting. But again, let me know how you feel about Morgan Rielly and Brandon Carlo in the comments. Not great. Didn't even think Chris Tanev was that great tonight, but again, some of the top guys that know they have spots did not show out tonight. And honestly, not much to take away from this game. I have to be honest. This was a bit of a stinker. Another thing to take away, though, was Anthony Stolarz. 18 shots, faced 15 saves. I thought he was pretty good. Like a couple of the goals that went in, not going to say necessarily not his fault, but I didn't think he was that bad. And he looks pretty confident, which is good. So excited to see that. And then Akhtiamov, of course, coming in the third period. Didn't think he was that bad either. Made some decent saves, but he's obviously going to be the goaltender for the Toronto Marlies. Behind, I assume, Dennis Hildeby. We don't know what's happening with that. James Reimer still on a PTO, so we'll see how that plays out. James Reimer, I wanted to talk about that too. I'm going to get to the chat in a second. Send any questions that you have in the chat. Let me know how you feel about the defense. I thought it was horrible. Nylander was not trying whatsoever tonight. Not even close, ladies and gentlemen. Not even close. I'm going to take nothing away from this game in terms of William Nylander. That guy was not trying tonight. And honestly, I don't care as long as you show up in the regular season, the playoffs, which he does. So I'm fine with that. So I'll get to the top three in a second. Just want to touch on James Reimer. Pretty cool that he's back with the Toronto Maple Leafs. First time actually wearing that crest, which is crazy. He was traded 10 seasons ago before they switched to that crest. He said it's the greatest game on earth and the greatest city to play in. This is where it all started for James Reimer. I personally love James Reimer as a goaltender. He was fantastic when he was with the Leafs. That 2013 collapse was not his fault. Of course, he was part of it, but he was great, I thought. And the fact that they brought in Jonathan Bernier at the time to basically take over for him, I thought was absolutely ridiculous. So nice to see him back. I think it's a cool story. Biggest story now is, how long is Joseph Woll out for? And, is James Reimer the backup goaltender? Does he even stick around? Is Dennis Hill to be the backup goaltender? I would rather Dennis Hill to be the starter for the Marlies, gain that confidence, continue his development, but we'll see what happens with that. So pretty cool story nonetheless. And he said that he hasn't had that much fun in a long time. Obviously, he had his first practice this morning, so that was pretty cool. I'm also going to leave this up for you guys. These are this is the lineup from tonight's game, and I'll get to the chat here in a second. So just reading it again, first preseason game, not much to take from it. There's a couple things. I thought Jacob Quillen looked pretty good. Like that, cool, right? I don't know if he's even going to make the team at this point. I think Easton Cowan's going to make the team over him at this point. They're keeping that line together. It's not pictured here, but they're keeping that Lawton, Lorentz, and Cowan line together in practice. So I do wonder about that next preseason game if they get in again. If they play well, that could be your fourth line. I don't think it's good for Cowan's development. I've said it on the channel time and time again. I'm going to stick to that, but it might end up happening, so it'll be interesting. So top three, also like the Austin Matthews slander, guys. What are we talking about, man? One of the best players in the league. Top three in my eyes tonight. I mean, I thought Nyes was very noticeable in the first period, kind of went away after that. I have to be honest. I thought Tavares did some really, really good stuff defensively. So maybe I'd put Tavares there. He had a goal too. To me, Tavares was very noticeable defensively against Lane Hudson. So I thought that was pretty good. So I would throw, John Tavares in there. I thought Michelli has looked good. Obviously, not tonight particularly, but has looked good to this point. So maybe I would give him one. I thought OEL was pretty noticeable tonight too, just in the mix, whether it was making mistakes and stuff like that, but at least he's trying. So that was pretty good. So, maybe that would be a top three in my eyes tonight. I thought Stolarz looked okay, but again, a couple of things to take from a couple of guys, but overall the team didn't, like a couple of guys didn't even look like they were trying, to be honest. So tough to really gauge there. I have to be honest, in terms of picking out a couple players, David Kampf has no spot on this team. I have no appetite to see David Kampf on this team whatsoever, like not even close to being it. Like there would have to be a plethora of injuries to have David Kampf in this lineup, in my eyes. And not only that, Calle Jarnkrok, he doesn't do anything out there. I have to be honest. Like a lot of people talk about, his skating's pretty good. Like, he's in the right spot here and there. He doesn't do anything. He really doesn't, like when he's out there. So that's a tough one for me too. I know they've been looking at trying to trade them all off season. You got to continue to do that because they're going to be in the press box. Those two are going to be in the press box. They do not have a spot on this team in my eyes. So let me know how you guys feel about that. Another guy that did catch my eye, and I wanted to bring this up as well. Let me know in the chat how you feel about Nicolas Waugh. I think he's going to be a huge difference maker for this team at third line center. He's making some good plays, breaking up plays. Nothing crazy, nothing flashy, but again, this was his first game of the preseason, so nice to get him into the lineup and acclimated with, what could be his actual line mates when the season starts in Matias Michelli and Dakota Joshua. So that's interesting. They got to get, more, playing time together, get used to each other, stuff like that. But I thought he looked pretty good. I didn't hate it, and I think he's going to be a good two-way player for this team. Not even two-way. The biggest thing is having a reliable, natural center in that spot. They have not had a natural third line center for a long time, and I'm sick and tired of Max Domi playing center because he's not a center. He should be on the wing, and he's better suited on the wing and probably in the top six of this team. But I think this team is way deeper. I think they just have to build some more chemistry. There's a couple guys who are going with each other, which is pretty good through the first couple games. I like that. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think that Nicolas Waugh is going to be a big difference maker for this team long term. If, once we're, 25 games into the season, we're really going to see it. This was his first game, so hard to judge. And a bad game. Just, again, not much to take from this one. It was just not great. If you sat through this whole game and watched every minute, every second of this game, I commend you because that was tough. Tavares is older and needs to get in shape. He also doesn't have injury problems. Tavares is, I think he's fine. I thought he was fine tonight. There was a lot of talk about Riley getting into shape. Didn't really like that pairing tonight. Didn't like that pairing again. They got to show me something. They have to show us something coming up here soon because the Leafs are in trouble if they do not play well, because that is supposed to be your first pairing. Or maybe your first pairing is Chris Tanev and obviously Jake McCabe at this point, so we'll see. Robertson, let's get some conversation on Nic Robertson in the chat. Didn't do much again tonight. I think he's on the outside looking in at this point. I think he's a very skilled player. For anyone who's been on the channel for a long time, been subscribed for a long time, been watching the live streams, been watching the videos, you know I'm a fan of Nic Robertson. I am. And I do think that he could stick around. I don't think he's a guy who's going to play all 82 games. He's just not, right? And I think he's a very situational player depending on the team you're playing that night, and he barely played into the playoffs as well. So I think at this point, I hate to say it, I've been defending him for a long time on the channel. I think you probably look at trading him because it's probably going to be easier to trade a guy like Nic Robertson than Calle Jarnkrok and David Kampf, and you have to free up a spot. You have to free up a spot, I think, heading into the season. They have too many bodies to be carrying around. They are cap compliant, which is fine. They can keep everyone if they want to, but I think for the sake of like getting guys in the lineup every now and then and not having a guy sit for the entire season, you have to probably trade Robertson for some type of asset. And maybe you can upgrade somewhere else too, right? Or maybe a younger player. I don't know. That goes down to the Marlies, something like that. But yeah, like Nic Robertson, he's great at scoring goals. He can't do it consistently though, and he makes $1.8 million now. Maybe it's time to look for a trade. So, and to me, I like what they've done with this team. Mitch Marner's gone. You use that money to make yourself a deeper team. They did that. Waugh comes in, Dakota Joshua. Like, I like all those moves. I think they're going to score goals. I think they're going to make it hard to play against the Toronto Maple Leafs every night, which is a good thing. And then with them doing that, guys like Nylander and Matthews can take over with the goal scoring, stuff like that, which if Matthews is healthy this year, that's over 100 goals in 2 guys. Possibly at this point, which is absolutely frightening. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but I don't know. I think it's Robertson out the door right now, just because it might be easier to trade him. I think some other teams would have interest in that. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. I wonder if Kyle Dubas has interest in Nic Robertson. I think he can play possibly in their top 6 right now. Rucker McGroarty's injured, so that'll be interesting to see. But Leafs seem to have a lot of spare parts right now. I think they're just trying to put the puzzle pieces together still at this point. I think there's a lot of that still happening. I think they're going to try out that 4th line, if you want to call it that, with Cowan on it one more time. And if there is chemistry there, could have something there. So we'll see. This game made me realize that Nic Robertson does not belong. I also thought that line was a little odd. And I hate Max Domi playing at center. Don't like it. So that's interesting. Trade Kampf, Jarnkrok, and Robertson already from Blue Sky 99. And from Profit, who does Robertson play over? Michelli, Cowan, Domi, McMahon? No, none of those guys. None of those guys. And I think McMahon might be on the second line when the season starts. It's going to be interesting to see, what the final lineup looks like. But I think for me right now, the other crazy thing is Domi didn't look good tonight. And he hasn't played with Matthews yet. He did not look good. I would have Michelli on the first line. I would. And I've been saying it a little bit, throughout the summer, that you try Domi there and see if you can kind of get something out of that pairing that you saw a couple years ago, that chemistry, maybe in 2024 in that playoff run, that first round exit, I guess. See if you can rekindle that. And if you can't, which it hasn't yet, Michelli, they had some chemistry in that one game. So maybe try that again. And Michelli didn't look that great tonight, and he was on the 3rd line, and I don't know if he should be on the 3rd line. And I think they're planning on McMahon being on the 2nd line with Tavares and Nylander. They want a heavier body, and McMahon has to be more consistent in that way. So that's going to be interesting to see, how that plays out in that way. But I think that's what they're planning right now. But I would almost have Michelli on the top line. I think you got to try it one more time. But man, Friendly Rage, shout out to Canucks Digest in the chat. Mark Pye over there on Canucks Digest. Friendly wager for the January 10th games. Loser puts the opposing team's jersey in the background. I'll take that bet. A friendly preseason bet. I will take that bet because the Leafs are going to win that game. I am so confident in that. Canucks Digest, you're on. Somebody screenshot that. I am a bit worried about the top line spot. I'm not worried yet. There's still some time. We know it's Nyes and Matthews. Who's on that right wing? I would put Michelli there right now. I think I would put, based on everything, again, your opinion can change after a couple of games. You got to see how certain guys are gelling with each other. I would put Michelli on that top line. You know what, Canucks Digest? That is so disrespectful to mention Matt Sundin. That is so disrespectful in that way. I can't believe that. Mark Pye is a great guy over there in Canucks Digest. I guess we have to watch another season of Riley. He's not going to be traded, guys. Borja Velas needs to be assigned to the Marlies. He's definitely going to be. They were just giving him a shot tonight. And yeah, he's an AHL player. He was playing in the WHL last year. So he will be with the Marlies, but just giving him a shot. I thought Quillen looked pretty good. Not good enough to make the team, I think, out of camp, but like he's a guy that's taken significant steps forward considering, what he was when he first came to the Maple Leafs. So that looks pretty good. Like he looks pretty quick. He's making plays, good in transition, stuff like that. So you probably start with the Marlies, but he's a guy that, injuries happens, call him up. He can make a bit of an impact. I like that. So, and that's what you need with the Marlies. The Leafs were lacking that for so long, so many years. So excited. And a lot of people were, saying that Brad Treliving wasn't, doing anything with the Marlies, and he lost a bunch of players. Obviously, traded Fraser Minton, and the Marlies were, not going to be good this year. They have no cupboard. They have nothing, no assets left, any of that stuff. Well, let me tell you, Brad Treliving continues to cook, ladies and gentlemen. The Marlies are going to be fine. The goaltending looks good. They have some good prospects down there. They have guys like Quillen that they can call up, maybe make an impact now. Easton Cowan might be an NHL/AHL tweener at this point. We'll see what happens with that. But M. Marshall Rafai, he's out for a little bit. He's getting surgery. He just broke his hand. But I like some of the moves that they made this offseason. I think they're in a good spot. The organization is in a good spot. Stolars plays 45 to 50 games if healthy. I think it's probably around 40. I think they're going to even it out. I think Wool is going to play a lot of games this year. If, he returns at some point soon. We don't know what's happening with that. Wishing him the best, of course, but obviously there hasn't been an update at all on that. So that's going to be interesting. Who is the backup goaltender at this point? That's an interesting question too. Let me know in the chat. Who's your current Toronto Maple Leafs backup goaltender? Do you sign James Reimer to be the backup goaltender? I think I would go with James Reimer over Dennis Hildeby. And the only reason being is because Akhtiamov is definitely not ready to me. And I think that he's going to be a great goaltender, but he needs to marinate a little bit in the AHL. And Hildeby, to me, shouldn't have to worry about that. He should just be the starter of the Marlies. Go down there, continue your development. Don't worry about anything. Play hockey, build your confidence. So to me, I would sign James Reimer. So we'll see. Michelli was decent. I agree. In your opinion, in the top six forward is the top six forward needed now, or is it okay to wait for the deadline? I think it's okay to wait. I'm totally confident with waiting. I think this team is going to be a lot better than people realize. I think a lot of people are scared about Marner leaving, and for good reason. Like, he's a good player in the regular season, right? Like, he put up 100 points. You can't take that away from the guy. But there was a lot of other stuff that we talked about during the summer that came with that, and now that's removed from the team, and the team itself is deeper. So I think they're going to be a lot better. And if they need that extra punch, go and get it at the deadline. You can get it at the deadline then. That's fine. And then gear up for Connor McDavid on July 1st. Paul with the super chat, with the donation, the $10 donation. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate the donation. The first one of 5-6 season. I guess it is the preseason still, but appreciate that. Just want to see if you have a new graphic for SC's. Chef Brad seems appropriate since his family owns Boston Pizza. That's right. His father owns Boston Pizza. So if the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, Boston Pizza stock will go through the roof. So we have a couple new stuff. I don't want to give away too much. Chef Brad is a little bit new, but I don't want to give away too much. We have some fun stuff planned for when the regular season opens, so that'll be fun. But Paul, your support's been unbelievable over the last 2 seasons. Thank you very much for following, and this season is going to be a lot of fun as well. Possibly the most fun that I will have talking about the Leafs. It's going to be exciting because things are actually feeling a little bit different, so that's exciting. But thank you, Paul, again, for your donation. We really appreciate it here on the channel. From Paul, again, Reimer is my favorite Leafs goalie, even through the heartbreak of the Bruins' 7th game in 2013. I will never pin that on James Reimer, and what happened after, I will never pin on James Reimer either. The fact that the 2011 Leafs were that close to making the playoffs is unbelievable because that team stunk, and it was because of James Reimer. He is, I think, my favorite goaltender. Again, I'm a little bit younger. A lot of people might say Felix Potvin and stuff like that. James Reimer is probably my favorite Leafs goaltender. He was awesome. It was hard not to root for that guy because he was so good. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Still on a PTO, and he was skating with the Marlies group today, so keep that in mind. But we'll see if that happens. But yeah, Joe's saying wait till the deadline. I don't panic. Don't panic and make a move at this point. If they're going to make a move, it's to trade someone out. Like, somebody's coming out. It's going to be Robertson, Kampf, Yarn Croak, one of those guys, maybe somebody we're not even thinking, which I don't think it's any of the top guys. I don't think it's Domi either. Don't panic. You have time, use it. I think this team will be better anyway. So you got to figure out the penalty kill, though. I'll say that. You have to figure out the penalty kill because that was horrendous. And on paper, this team should have a good penalty kill because, yes, you're losing Mitch Marner, and he was pretty decent on the penalty kill. But you have a bunch of guys in this lineup that, again, not all of them were playing tonight. Like Lawton, I would assume, would be on the penalty kill as well. Matthews is going to be on the penalty kill. That you got to figure that out because the penalty kill's got to be better. And the power play, again, you don't have your top guns tonight, or all of them at least. That's got to be better too. Did like the entries though. I like how OEL like took the puck and just skated it in because all these teams let you do that, and all these teams are dropping it back. I get why they drop back to push D back to then gain the zone. Doesn't always work though. If they're letting you, enter the zone. I saw OEL just like look around and go, okay, I'm just going to skate it in. I like that. I don't know why more teams don't do that or more players don't read the situation and take advantage of that. It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's a rant for another time, I guess. But we'll get into some more questions here. What do you think of Philip Myers? I think, to me, the spot that he was in last year, which I guess you could call it the seventh defenseman, should be Henry Thrun now because he's younger and he has more upside. So to me, it should be him. But I do wonder if it is going to be Philip Myers because you can send Henry Thrun down to the Marlies and have him play minutes instead of being a seventh defenseman and kind of riding with the team. There's that weird trade-off there. Maybe you have him ride with the team. He's a seventh defenseman. He's not playing every game, but he's learning from NHL guys. Or maybe he goes down to the Marlies and continues to play, right? So I don't know. He's younger. He seems hungry. I was actually very impressed with him in the last game, watching a small sample size of him. So to me, it should be Henry Thrun. And I said it in our video today that it should be Henry Thrun. But don't hate Philip Myers. Good guy to have in the organization. They think very highly of the player. He's used to the system, stuff like that. And I thought he was pretty good at the end of last season when he did get into games. So I would keep him around. But to me, Henry Thrun, probably that guy for me. But we'll see how that all plays out. Still a lot. The season's about to start in a week and a half. There is a lot to figure out in a very small amount of time. And the Leafs don't play for a couple of days still. So we'll see, what they do in practice and some of the lines there and who sticks with who. That'll be fun. But not the fastest player on the ice, never will be, but he hits a second gear when the postseason comes along, and the energy he brings on and off the ice will be huge. And of course, that is Canucks Digest talking about Dakota Joshua. He knows exactly what he's talking about over there watching the Canucks, where Joshua just came from. And I think he's going to be a big player for this team when times get tough. I think Joshua is a good player when the going gets tough. When you need a goal in the playoffs, when you need that physical presence, stuff like that, he rises above. And we saw that with, his time with the Vancouver Canucks. So that'll be fun. Benning has had a good camp. I agree. And I almost completely forgot about him in that San Jose Sharks trade for Timothy Liljegren last year, or Tim Liljegren, I guess at this point he wants to be called. But he's had a pretty good camp. There's a couple times tonight where I'm like, oh, maybe you should cover the guy in front of the net who's standing by himself. But outside of that, he's looked okay. I don't know if he has a spot on this team. Benoit being injured is also another interesting wrinkle into everything because how long is he out for? Is he even going to start the season? If he doesn't start the season, who's starting there for him? Because then you can move OEL, who I assume is going to be the third pairing defenseman, to the left. And then maybe you want a right shot and Matt Benning there on the right. I think that could be interesting. And that's kind of what they were running tonight. So we'll see. I think it really is up to if Benoit is healthy, because Benoit starts to me. He should be in the lineup. He, different element he brings to the lineup. Pretty cool. Again, shout out to the 85 of you in here. Keep sending your questions here in the chat. This is going to be a bit of a shorter one. I'm going to wrap up soon, but lots to talk about with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're going to go live here, a lot more often now. The summer is over. Hockey's back. That should be a lot of fun as well. Does Danford have a shot at being the sixth D-man? Not this year. He's a really good player. I'm a huge fan of Ben Danford. He took a ginormous step forward considering he missed camp. A lot of people forget he was injured last year, got injured very early, and couldn't play. So, and then he was sent back ultimately to the OHL, where he went to a second straight OHL final against Easton Cowan. Oshawa versus London 2 years in a row. That never happens in the OHL. So that was cool to watch. And he looked good in the OHL. He's not going to make the NHL, and he has to be sent back to the OHL. He's in the same position that Cowan was last year. So he's going to be sent back. I don't even think he gets a look in terms of like the 9 games until December 1st. That's not going to happen. But I think they'll keep him around till the last minute. Then they'll send them back down to the OHL because they do want him to play. and the OHL already started, so he'll be sent back. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up getting traded in the OHL to a contender, because Oshawa now is going to go into that weird cycle where we just went to 2 straight finals. We traded all of our young players for, these NHL caliber, NHL caliber talent and guys who've, been drafted and all that stuff. So they're going to go through that rebuild cycle. So I do wonder if he ends up getting moved at some point to a contender where then he can go and play in a meaningful games. Again, maybe another OHL final or something like that. So that's the route and the path I see for Ben Danford at this point next season, or this season, sorry. And then next season, does he make the NHL? I don't know. I think the plan is Ben Danford is going to be Chris Tanev when Chris Tanev's done playing. Like he's just going to fill that role for this team. So I think he's close. I think he's coming up in the next year or two, and that'll be fun. But if anything, he goes to the Marlies next year. But he's close. He looks poised with the puck. He's skating well. He's making great outlet passes. He's a good defenseman, right? Especially in the OHL. So he looks really good. But he's going to need time. He's going to need time. Let's not rush the guy. He's not going to be in the NHL, but he's going to be a great player. So he'll go back to the OHL. That'll be fine. And maybe he'll get traded to your local team and you can go watch him. Or if you live in Oshawa, you can go watch him in Oshawa until he gets traded if he's getting moved. So that'll be fun. But I think they're going to keep him around as long as possible. That's my prediction. As long as possible, send him back to the OHL. Plays the year out. Maybe he gets traded to a contender, and then he'll come back up next year, and worst case scenario is in the AHL. So, but he's a year or two away for sure. He'll be there soon, and he's going to be awesome. So very excited about that. Why did they start Stolarz? They should have kept trying Hildeby or Arthur. I think they know what they have in Hildeby and Arthur Akimov now. I think they're just trying to get Stolarz into a game. I don't think Stolarz is going to travel in the preseason either. So it was a home game, get him into a home game. So just get him feeling the puck. I think you know what you have in Arthur Akimov and Dennis Hildeby at this point. Hildeby's 1, Arthur's 2. Have him play with the Marlies, figure out a backup goaltender until Joseph Woll comes out. That'll be it. So, does exhibition games count in the 9-game limit? No. So, they can play as many exhibition games as they want. And then as soon as the NHL season starts, they can play 9 games. And those 9 games can be spread out as much as they want until December 1st. So December 1st is the deadline to have junior players return to their team. So it's either they're staying in the NHL for the year or you're going back to junior. You can play a max of 9 games at the NHL level in that time frame, if that makes sense. So, you got to make a decision before December 1st, or they play 9 games. This happened to Owen Tippett a couple years ago in the NHL. He played a couple games. I think they kept him for 4 or 5 games, but they spread those 4 or 5 games out until almost December. And then they sent him back down to junior, and he barely played, and then he went to the World Juniors and stuff like that. So they have... if they want to keep somebody around, they can play them for 9 games until December 1st. Then they got to go back, or they're staying the whole year, but you got to make a decision by that point. So, but I think that once the season starts, Danford will be back in the OHL, but they're going to keep him around till the last minute for sure. But it might be better to just tough it out with Robbie Yarny or Kempf on the 4th line, allow Cowan the best growth possible. This is my thing. I know that line is working. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. This is a good point by Profit. Let me know what you think in the chat here. I'm going to go on a bit of a rant because a lot of people have been talking about this. A lot of people the other night, and listen, I'm not taking anything away from that line, but this is the Maple Leafs' new 4th line. Cowan, Lawton, and Lorentz. The Maple Leafs' new 4th line. They put up so many points against Montreal that night. Montreal didn't play that good. That line was the first line for the Leafs that night because they had none of the regulars in. So they were playing way more minutes than they're going to in the regular season. And why on this planet would you have Easton Cowan, unless it's for a game or two, just to get him in the NHL, at the NHL level, in a regular season game for 1 game, then send him back to the Marlies because he doesn't have to go through waivers? Would you have Easton Cowan play on your 4th line regularly or be out of the lineup? Makes no sense for me for his development. He's not that type of player. Like, he's going to be a top guy soon, and he needs to continue his development. So it can make sense on the 3rd line, but to me, the 4th line makes no sense unless it's for a game or two just to get him into the NHL and then send him back to the Marlies. He should be playing as many minutes as possible at the pro level, whether it's the NHL or the AHL, in a role that best suits him. So that could be in the AHL, in the top 6, not even top 6, should be top line in the AHL with the Marlies, or on the Toronto Maple Leafs on like the 3rd line where he can kind of be himself still. But if it's just going to be a 4th line role where he's playing 7 minutes a night and he's going to go out there and crash and bang, That's not what Easton Cowan's game is. He could probably do it. Maybe they're asking him to do more of that. That's fine. But that's not what his game is. And that's not what I think he can ultimately be in the NHL. So why are we forcing him to do that? Right. So that's just the way I see it. I know a lot of people are saying it. And it's going to be interesting because through practice in the next game, if they run that line again, they play well again, there's going to be a conversation. And I won't hate it. If they start the season with that, I won't hate it because it's going to get him into the NHL. But long term, if it's like, man, he's on the fourth line, he's playing 7 minutes a night for the whole season, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if he's going to be able to produce like that. So we'll see. And I think it would be better for his development anyway, so he can turn into a great playmaker, a great goal scorer in this league if he played top 6 in the Marlies. That's just the way I feel. Let me know how you feel in the chat because I think that's a very interesting, circumstance right now with that player. But ultimately, we'll see what happens over the next week and a half. It's gonna be interesting because I think there's a real possibility that he makes this team, but we'll see. If Cowan isn't ready, send him to the Marlies. He'll develop better without all the media attention and the fan pressure. There's also that. There is also that, right? Not that I don't think the team would let him talk to the media anyway. I don't want to frame it that way, but I the top guys are going to talk to the media. I don't think Cowan would have to deal with that every day, but yeah, like Cowan should be a top 6 player in the NHL at some point. And if he's going to be that, don't start him on the fourth line. And a lot of people, were saying too, I saw a lot of this over the last week. Marner started on the fourth line. Marner did not start on the fourth line. Marner bust into the NHL on the second line with Bozak and JVR, right? From the start. Yes, he was put on the fourth line after a while because of his play, but he went back up to the second line at some point. And he started on the second line. So not the same situation at all. And to me, I wouldn't have Cowan on the fourth line. That's just the way I see it. That's not the player he is. So, and he's too young to be doing that. Should be continuing to, progress. He should be playing hockey, meaningful minutes at the pro level. That's just the way I see it. But I think we're going to wrap up there. Lots to talk about with the Leafs. They also made some moves. I think after tonight, they're going to make some cuts. I would imagine some cuts are coming tomorrow. So that'll be interesting to see who, will be cut. But yeah, should be a fun couple next days that we are going to cover here on the channel. We're going to have you guys covered. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in after that. Wouldn't even call it disappointing. That was a nothing game at this point. Not too much to take from that one, but appreciate everyone for tuning in. Some familiar faces, Profit. Shout out to Canucks Digest as well for coming in here, making some bets. That'll be fun to, January 10th. That'll be an interesting one. And Paul, thank you for your donation. Everybody for tuning in. We will see you later this week. We're going to do some more streaming. We're going to be more consistent with that. That'll be fun. Nick will be back in the mix. He'll be back for our next video as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in, joining the community. It'll be fun to do some post-game, call-ins, all that stuff once the regular season starts. We're just a week and a half away at this point. So thank you very much for tuning in, everyone, and we will talk to you in our video tomorrow. Lots of updates to go over tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Tune into our video. Should be coming out around midday. Check that out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow.
Digest your daily dose of gold. Stories of the bold where legends are told. From first pop drop to the season's fall. Tune in and watch the drama unfold.